Howdy, it's Ari with Land Insights, and in this video, we're going to be talking about how to identify markets for value add opportunities. Now, there's multiple ways to do this, and so your creative talents will really come into play here. I will say there's a lot of users and investors out there who might say, well, I just want to start hunting for subdivide opportunities from the get-go. That means your analysis in the market research tab might start off just by hunting for that opportunity. But I actually have my own take on this. So, take this with a grain of salt. But the concept that I run off of here is when I'm doing my own research, I'm starting my subdivide like search, my subdivide opportunity search with markets I've already chosen. I prefer doing this because I already know that those markets are doing well. I've already vetted the markets in general, and it's just going to help me streamline the analysis. I've already made sure I like everything. So finding a market that I already like is so I mean finding a subdivide opportunity in a market I already like just feels much more time conscious and honestly more efficient, just a better use of my time in general, because I already know that these markets that I've chosen over time are good. So that's my own personal hot take. Now, everybody will have their own perspective, so keep in mind there are other ways to find other there are other ways to find subdivide opportunities. Now, if I'm looking at the counties I've chosen, one way I can kind of get started here is choosing data points that really help me figure out if the value goes up from one acreage range to another. I personally have chosen these data points specifically for the purpose of subdividing. This is very, very intentional. I have my actives just to kind of get a pulse on the market in terms of every acreage range. I have my pending sell-through rate. I want to see the demand of smaller acreage ranges. I want to see also the overall movement, and that's usually from a 3 to 6 month perspective. I could go 2 years. Well, I just wanted to look at a shorter time frame. And that's how I'm going to want to prioritize this because I'm just trying to look for areas where markets or areas where properties are moving a little bit faster. Also chosen days on market just to give me an idea on how long these things generally sit. If the market's picked up recently, then obviously that sell-through rate will be higher if the days on market is higher. I've also moved over to the middle column and chosen the median active price per acre and the median sold price per acre. However, the order that I've chosen this in is median active price per acre, and then I've come over here to the right, the far right column, and I've chosen the max over a 6 month range. I've sandwiched the median sold price per acre in between that max and the minimum, so that I can see that in succession and compare each kind of range I'm looking at to those numbers. So, if I'm looking at 2 to 5 acres, the 2 acres is going to have the max on top. I'm going to theoretically associate it with the 2 acres, just in a broad sense, because the smaller the acreage, usually they higher the price per acre. So that's my logic there. And I'll sandwich that behind or between the max and the min. And then I'll also pull in the Gini over the course of the year, just to get an idea on how homogeneous that area is. If I subdivide, will it be pretty consistent? So those are the data points I've chosen. Obviously, you can choose your own, or you can use these as well if you prefer. So from here, we'll go ahead and save that. We'll come in to our markets, and we're going to just start looking at our markets. Now, the heat map is not going to uh, sway me a little bit here at all. If you wanted to prioritize where you look at first, maybe you could choose Gini. Maybe you could choose another data point that just helps you understand, okay, where's the movement the best overall. But once you do this, you're going to kind of be convinced of certain areas over others. And I'm really just trying to look at one market at a time, and we're going to be looking at individual ranges. So I don't necessarily want to choose a heat map data point that will force me to stay within one state. I want to look everywhere. And so I'm just going to zoom in. I'm going to ignore the heat map altogether. And I'm just going to look at one county at a time. So in this county, Washington County, Kentucky, for example, I don't want to be looking at 0.2 to 100 acres. First, I'm going to go to, let's just say, 5 to 10 acres. Maybe I'm trying to subdivide. Let's start at 2 to 5, because uh, I just want to look at the smallest acreage range and I want to move up. But I really don't like dealing with things less than 2 acres. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and maximize this. Looking at Washington County, Kentucky, I can see there's nothing currently pending in the 2 to 5 acre range, although the price per acre is fairly high and you can see that that median active price per acre is pretty consistent with the max on the range over the last 6 months. But if the median is 13K per acre, we're a little off on where we need to be for those active properties for them to sell pretty fast. So I might not be looking to cut something down to 2 to 5 acres specifically because I don't see a crazy amount of demand here. But as I move higher, I'm trying to just see this continue to increase. So I know that there's no pending properties right now, but given that there are only 5 to 10 acres, that might be to be expected. But it does look good over 3 months. All of these should sell, and then when we're looking at the average days on market, it's also pretty low. And that's the average, so we can expect some properties to sell before that, maybe some after. That's looking good for us. If we start looking at the median active price per acre, and and we compare that to the median price per or the median sold price per acre, as well as the max and the min. It looks like it's fairly high. The active price per acre is fairly high in comparison, and the Genie's fairly low. So it should mean that these properties are all going for a relatively similar price. Since that range is so tight, it might be uh, an outlier that something goes at 11K per acre, but regardless, this is a pretty good range of data, and it's showing us that things are overpriced in this acreage range. So if we go to 10 to 20 acres, I want to see that this goes down in price per acre. Looks like the max is 13.6K, which just seems like it has to be an outlier if the median active is 9K and the minimum is 5.5K, with the mean being 7.6K. The max here is likely an outlier. It's likely a premium property that came through, but overall very homogenous regardless. So I like the demand here. 12 active properties. The demand's pretty solid. It seems to be moving in 3 months, and so if I happen to know that in Kentucky, specifically Washington County, that I can cut a property down to 5 to 10 acres or even 10 to 20 acres, right? That's going to take some outside knowledge of those subdivision regulations. But if I know I can do that, then 5 to 10 acres and 10 to 20 acres is not looking that bad. If I hop up to 20 to 40 acres, you'll start to see that the price per acre is dipping down. That the homogeneity is really good. So I should be able to market to this area if I know that I can subdivide here, and really succeed. If I cut a property up, I should be able to price this market really, really well. And I could even go higher on my offers in this market if I'm doing this intentionally. So if I find a 20 to 40 acre property, I might be able to really win here by chopping it into 5 to 10 or 10 to 20 acres. Now, if I'm looking even larger, of course, there's just going to be less volume, and these leads are going to be a little bit harder to get in some markets where there are premium properties. But this this price per acre for this acreage band looks relatively high, in my opinion, compared to the other acreage ranges, and that might be, it might be proof because the sell-through rate, might serve as proof of that, because even though there's 6 active properties in this price range, the issue here is that the sell-through rate is terrible, which really doesn't give me that much confidence when I'm marketing to this acreage band. But it gives me confidence because if these lower acreage bands are performing well in the 3 to 6 month range, I should feel pretty confident cutting a larger property up into smaller bands and marketing there. So if I'm going to create a campaign, let's just say focused on Subdivide opportunities, this is how I would usually do it. And I might look at only the 40 to 100 or maybe even 20 to 40 and then 40 to 100 acreage ranges in this market in order to chop that down to 10 to 20 or maybe 5 to 10. And so that's a brief example of how to find subdivide opportunities in certain markets. Now, you're going to do this analysis in some places, and you're just not going to turn up with anything. Some acreages, small acreage ranges, are just going to not perform well, and because of that, your search will kind of be stunted initially, and so you'll have to kind of find other places to go look at. So this is a serendipitous example, but ultimately this might take you a couple counties. We might find that some counties just don't fit the bill for subdivide opportunities. And just remember, first and foremost, you have to have an understanding on whether or not the state has minor exemptions. Maybe that county has specific regulations around subdividing, because that's going to ultimately affect your ability to chop something up if you get it under contract. That is using the My Markets area to find value add opportunities. If you have any questions, you're always welcome to reach out to us at hello@landinsights.co, or you can always reach out to us at the bottom right of your platform.